Mysterious facts you were never supposed to hear. Although the historical information you learn in school is fascinating, everyone is familiar with it. The truths that few people are aware of are what makes history so fascinating. You start to question how much of world history you actually know. Welcome to Discovery Unraveled, the channel where you can find all the discoveries and mysteries you need to know. In today's video, we will see the mysterious facts you were never supposed to hear. Before getting into the video, please share and subscribe to our channel for more videos like these. Also tap on the bell icon for notifications. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1. Someone tried and failed to save Abraham Lincoln, and his life just got darker from there. The drawing, The Assassination of President Lincoln in the 1860s, is undoubtedly well known to you. So who are those two individuals seated in the private box next to the unfortunate president and his wife? Major Henry Rathbone is the person rushing into action on the far left. He and his fiancée, Clara Harris, were specifically asked to go to the theater with the president and Mrs. Lincoln. Rathbone attempted to tackle Booth to the ground after he fired the shot, but Booth was able to escape by stabbing Rathbone in the arm with a knife. Rathbone felt guilty for allowing Booth to escape that night and was never able to shake the memories and remorse of it. Number 2. 19th century New Englanders dug up a young woman's body because they thought she was a vampire. What about the Rhode Island accused vampire? You've probably heard of the Salem witch trials. The citizens of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Vermont were baffled by a tuberculosis outbreak that occurred in the late 1800s. At the time, the disease was known as consumption. Many believed their victims were vampire prey because they frequently had sunken, pale, and exhausted appearances. Naturally, a vampire hunt then started right away. The residents of Exeter, Rhode Island, came to the conclusion that someone in the family must be feeding on the other members when family members started passing away from consumption, one after another. The townspeople made the decision to exhume the bodies even after the mother, Mary Brown, and her 2 daughters had passed away, because they thought one of the bodies might actually be undead. Number 3. Dentures used to be made from the teeth of dead soldiers. Having actual teeth is preferable to wearing dentures, so why not? Dental professionals in the 19th century must have thought like that. With improvised dentures made of ivory base plates and real human teeth affixed, they fought the development of tooth rot. The teeth from the Waterloo battlefield dead could now be sold to dentists by scavengers who had previously been stealing them from the bodies. In order to sell them to consumers, the dentists would boil the choppers, remove the roots, and glue them to ivory plates. The clients may not have known the origins of the teeth, according to Mental Floss. Number 4. Researchers once turned a cat into a telephone. A live cat. In 1929, 2 Princeton University researchers wanted to investigate how the auditory nerve interprets sound. They used an unconscious cat as their test subject. Ernest Weaver and Charles Bray, 2 scientists, removed a portion of the animal's brain and connected a receiver to one end of a telephone cable that was hooked to the auditory nerve. Weaver could hear Bray through the receiver in the soundproof room as he spoke into the cat's ears. The cat-turned-phone experiment miraculously survived nonetheless, but Weaver and Bray refrained from dispersing it into the wider world. They killed it instead to determine if the experiment would succeed with a dead cat. Not at all. If you don't want to be turned into a telephone or a bulb, make sure to subscribe to our channel, Discovery Unraveled. Ha! Just kidding. Hit the bell icon to receive notifications whenever a new video is posted. Number 5. King Tut's parents were most likely siblings. Once you stop shivering in disgust, here is what scientists know about the Kid King and his family. It is almost certain that Akhenaten, who served as pharaoh before Tut in the 14th century BC, was his father. His mother's name is mostly unknown, although new DNA testing on mummies, including his and others, has shown that she was likely one of Akhenaten's sisters. King Tut was quite weak and had a bone condition, possibly as a result of his parents. Tut is remembered in history as one of Egypt's most illustrious and prosperous pharaohs, despite having health problems and a short lifespan even by those times. He passed away at the age of 19. Number 6. In 1494, Europe experienced the closest thing to a real-life zombie outbreak. There was a significant, though little-known, dark side to the Italian Renaissance. An extensive syphilis infection brought back by sailors from the New World spread throughout the whole French army. The soldiers later spread what became known as the Great Plague throughout the rest of Europe. As there were no antibiotics available at the time, the sickness may have spread unchecked and had unpleasant side effects. The disease's gruesome sores would ultimately cause the skin on victims' faces to rot away. In some instances, the infected individuals' noses, lips, or other body parts were virtually gone, and several of the patients finally passed away from the illness. While there were many positive aspects of the European Renaissance, the syphilis epidemic that occurred at the same time was essentially a real-life zombie apocalypse. Number 7. Thomas Edison created a seriously creepy baby doll. Thomas Edison did encounter a pretty significant failure when he attempted to build the first ever talking dolls, despite all of his brilliant creations. The tinfoil phonograph, which Edison created in 1877, represented a significant advance in the field of sound recording, and Edison was well aware of the technology's limitless potential. He was able to create a line of baby dolls in 1890 as a result of the invention of the wax cylinder. The dolls were unlike anything the world of toys had ever seen or heard before, with wooden bodies, porcelain heads, and little phonographs in their chests. Number 8. A computer once did in 40 seconds what took a mathematician an entire lifetime. The mathematician William Shanks dedicated his entire life to figuring out the digits of pi. He identified another 180 digits and correctly calculated the first 527 digits, but those calculations were erroneous. Nevertheless, it's still impressive to calculate the first 527 digits. Or rather, it happened in 1873. The same number of digits was computed by a computer in less than a minute in 1958, and then added another 10,000. It's best that poor Shanks wasn't around to witness it, but if it's any comfort, that computer was created by people. Number 9. Boston experienced a deadly molasses flood. This mildly portrays the Boston Tea Party. At the north end of Boston, a sizable molasses tank burst in January 1919. It may sound like a scene from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but a molasses flood was no laughing matter. Over 2.5 million gallons of the gooey stuff were trapped in the tank, and they were unleashed at a startling 35 miles per hour, sweeping through the streets. It was essentially a full-on tidal wave growing to a height of almost 15 feet, and it claimed the lives of 21 people. In addition, 150 additional persons suffered injuries, and homes and buildings suffered foundational damage. When they had to clamber through the gummy muck to reach the victims, emergency personnel had difficulty doing so. It took Bostonians weeks to clear up the mess, and many locals asserted that years later in the sweltering summer, they could still smell the stiflingly sweet smell of molasses. That's all for today. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. Also, express your valuable thoughts in the comments section below. Until then, bye. Also, spend some time watching other videos on the channel.